man is back.
Oh, okay, boys. Oh my gosh, the man got that stuff. This is a 5 out of freaking 5.
It is beat making time.
Next week is E3 week. My album comes out next week.
I have the leopard. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But look at that, my God.
This is your boy. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube citizens, y'all know who this is. This is your boy Dash, the True Inferno. Back at it with another Call of Duty Black Ops 6 commentary video gameplay for you guys. And ladies and gentlemen, this console situation that is going on right now keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So, what's going on now? So, I think it was in my last video where I talked about how Microsoft raised the price or prices of their Xbox consoles, you know, the current gen, or I guess because of the Switch 2, the previous gen, they raised the price more for the second time within 4 months. They actually did that. Well, Sony, on the other hand, is doing something different outside of raising prices for the second time. Remember, Sony already raised their prices this year. They did it once. Apparently, they raised it twice. I was not familiar with that, but okay, whatever. Maybe not twice this year, but twice in general. But I don't remember that. I don't know. But at the very least, they raised their price. As far as I know, they raised their prices once this year. So they did do that. And let me recap how much they raised their prices to. Now, this is in America. I want to say they did this everywhere else as well, but in America, they raised the price of their 3 systems, the PlayStation 5 systems, by $50 each. So the original PlayStation, or not the original, but like I guess the disc version of the PlayStation 5 went from $500 to $550. The digital edition went from $450 to $500, and the Pro went from $700 to $750. So there you go with that. They done that already. And at that point, I'm like, there's no point in getting a PlayStation 5 because of the fact that the PlayStation 6 is coming. The PlayStation 6 is coming. Like, at this point, you should all be aware that the PlayStation 6 is coming, which is why I was telling people not to get the PlayStation 5 the PlayStation 5 Pro, because of 2 reasons. 1, a PC is better than the PlayStation 5 Pro. And 2, the PlayStation 6 is coming. So that's why I'm like, there's no point in getting a PlayStation 5 anything, not to mention, there's not a lot of good games for the PlayStation 5. This is one of the worst systems in history in terms of playing games, that is. Now, system-wise, obviously, this is the best console out now that isn't a PC. But in terms of, like, if we look at, okay, what was the best system that you ever played, like in terms of memories, excitement, and, joy and fun and stuff like that, this would not be one of those systems. This would not be one. This would be in the opposite spectrum of that. That's where this one would be next to the Xbox Series X and S. But I digress. All those reasons that I said alone are reasons why you should not be buying a PlayStation 5 anything. Just wait for the PlayStation 6 to drop. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to give you another reason why you should not buy a PlayStation 5, especially if you're out in Europe. So, what's going on? Well, let me read you this article from IGN. This was posted on September the 30th. So check this out. PlayStation 5 are being advised to act now if they want to buy a PS5 digital edition 1 terabyte console. Keep in mind, the key words here are 1 terabyte console. And you know what? I'm about to be nice. Let me see. 1 terabyte equals how many gigabytes? 1 terabyte is 100,000 gigabytes. So, not 100,000, but 1,000 gigabytes. So, basically, yeah. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So, a PlayStation 5 digital edition console containing 1 terabyte, aka 1,000 gigabytes. Continue on with the article. As fresh stock quietly filters into Europe with a smaller SSD, despite the console being sold at the same price. So here's the point, the next paragraph. Sony have not trumpeted the change, though insider Bill Kuhn noted earlier this month, as in September, that new PlayStation 5 digital editions restock retail stock rather in Europe will soon contain a 825 gigabytes SSD, down from the current 1 terabyte, aka 1,000 gigabytes. So this mug gonna be missing 175 gigabytes. And then in parentheses, for now, the PlayStation 5 Slim standard model with a disk drive appears to be retaining its 1 terabyte SSD. In that parentheses. Moving on with the article. This week, one of the new, as in September 30th, that week, one of the new 825 gigabyte digital edition models was unboxed and shown off in a teardown video by YouTuber Austin Evans, revealing other changes likely intended to cut the console's manufacturing costs, meaning better margins for Sony, even if these savings aren't being passed on to the customer. Keep that in mind. Let's move on. The newer PlayStation 5 Digital Edition smaller 825 gigabytes SSD is listed on the console's external packaging. So I got the link right there. So yeah, if you want to see that for yourself for some odd reason, the link to that will be in the description box below. Though this is easy to miss, especially when buying online. Again, Sony has not publicly stated a reason for the SSD downgrade, though the smaller SSD will almost certainly be cheaper to produce. Looking inside the device, Evans noted that several internal components have been physically reduced in size, bringing the overall console rate down by 100 Gs, likely making the console cheaper to ship. Finally, the updated model also has a fully matted finish, though this appears to be more of an aesthetic choice. IGN has contacted Sony for details on the new 825 gigabytes models rolling out worldwide, including the US and Canada, though for now it's worth noting that numerous UK retailers are preparing for the change by selling off stock of the existing 1 terabyte models at sizable discounts. That's interesting. The newer model arrives despite repeat PS5 price increases in the US and overseas over the past few years. The most recent, so apparently there have been a second time is when a price is separate price increase or whatever. The most recent, a $50 price hike for the PlayStation 5 standard version, Digital Edition, and PS5 Pro hit the US just a month ago. And I already talked about that at the beginning of this video, and I covered that in a separate video in the past. Here's a quote. Similar to many global businesses, we continue to navigate a challenging economic environment. This was Isabel Tomatis, who is Sony Interactive Entertainment's Vice President, Global Marketing, said in a statement at the time. Continuing on with the quote, as a result, we have made a difficult decision. We've been seeing that a lot lately, huh? We made a difficult decision. That part right there. We've been seeing that quote being shipped out there by all three of these console manufacturers, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. We've been seeing that quote a lot. But continue on. We made a difficult decision to increase the recommended retail price for the PlayStation 5 consoles in the US starting on August the 21st, end quote. The price rises come amid a turbulent time for global markets due to US tariffs. A similar increase from other video game companies such as Nintendo, which recently increased the price of the original Nintendo Switch, and they did do that in America, by the way. I didn't talk about that in the video, but they did do that. Sony previously raised the PS5 price in the UK and mainland Europe, Australia, and New Zealand earlier this year, after already increasing the console's cost once before back in 2022. Oh, so there it is. So yeah, that was the first time he did it. Okay, so there you go. So, and the only reason why I even knew about this was because of Rich Tamara, aka Review Tech USA. He did a video on this back in September the 3rd, by the way. So this news broke even before IGN covered this. However, in his video, but not really his video, but in the description of his video, this is where I'm going to reference right here. In April of this year, the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition went from 450, I believe that's pounds, to 500 pounds. So they did a price increase for this exact system that we're talking about here earlier this year in Europe by 50 pounds. So even though you're getting less storage, you're still paying that 500-pound price. So let that sink in. You're paying more for less, ladies and gentlemen. You're paying more for less. Because once upon a time, this system that had 1 terabyte, aka 1,000 gigabytes, cost 450 pounds. Now, or basically what's going to happen, assuming it hasn't happened already, but now you're going to pay more, which is 500 pounds, for less stuff within the console, which is 825 gigabytes. No longer 1,000 gigabytes, aka 1 terabyte. Let that sink in. It costs 450 pounds for a 1,000 terabyte system. Now you're paying 500 gigabytes, or 500 pounds rather, for 825 gigabytes. Do you see what's wrong with this picture? You're paying more for less. You're paying more for less. This is a problem. This is a big problem, and it's another sign that console gaming is going down the shithole. It's another sign that console gaming is dying. It really, really is. And I'm encouraging everybody right here, right now, just switch to PC gaming. Switch to PC gaming, because at this point, like, it's not worth getting these systems anymore. The only one that might, and the key word here is might, be what there is the Switch 2. That might be the only one. That's it. No other system out now is worth getting. Not a single one. Because this shit is ridiculous. It's really, really ridiculous. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop as soon as possible, because we're now at a point where you got to pay more to get less. It's bad enough that they raising prices on consoles that are 5 years old, 10 years old with the Switch, with the OG Switch. It's ridiculous. Like, obviously, obviously we got to blame the tariffs. You got to blame the tariffs. But it's still ridiculous. But to say, hey, we're going to raise the price, and then while the price is being raised, we're going to offer you less stuff than what it was originally when you were paying less for it. I'm like, what? So to translate that, you had more stuff and you had a set price for it. But then they raised the prices, and then they took away some of the stuff. So now you're paying more for less. Do you see what the problem is? This is the point where people got to take a stand and say, like, no, we're not getting a PlayStation 5. We're not getting an Xbox Series X. We're not getting an OG Switch. And I'll be honest, I will not blame you if you don't get a Switch 2. I will not blame you one bit. But this is ridiculous. This is really, really ridiculous. And Sony needs to be called out for this bullshit. So this is straight up ridiculous. And that can't stand. That can't stand. So that's all I got on that, man. I'm going to call it a wrap. So with all that said, y'all know who this is. This is boy New J Gatsby, a.k.a. New Stephen A. Smith, saying peace out, y'all. And I'll see y'all next time. Yeah.